Hi there. In today's video, we will look into the mother and the father wound. And this is a topic that actually impacts us pretty much during life. And this isn't something really new, but it has been not really looked at for many, many years. And there are only now people coming up with studies that are incredible on how this is actually impacting your life. And it is really about how you grew up. And it's the first couple of years that are very, very heavy on you. And it's not about going into any blaming, going into any judgment. This is about you want to change your life. You want to stop doing things the way you have done it because it hurts you, and you're trying to understand why you keep doing the same things over and over again while you know it's not good for you, but you somehow can't really stop it. And I believe that at one moment you have to really look into those mother and father wound, because that is something that is ultimately holding you back. And this isn't about, yeah, but you can just change it. This is hardwired. This is something that you have learned and grew inside of you over time. And so it needs time to also somehow work with it, okay? To release that tension that you once felt. It's hard when you grew up and you had certain beliefs that were given to you and you believed it all your life, and then all of a sudden it starts to be like, oh, that was really what I believed. You see, they're not really conscious. They're not in your awareness. So you keep doing things that are not in your favor. For example, meeting people that are emotionally unavailable, or always being a people pleaser, or things like this. And that's not something that you can just ignore if you want to be truly happy. That's something you have to look into, because that is ultimately what can help you change. And so looking into those fields are very, very crucial, especially when you're going through day-to-day life and you're like, this has really caused some issues with inside of me, and I don't really know why is that. To explore what is happening inside of you is so important, because it helps you to let go of the tension. You see, just because you start doing this inner work doesn't actually mean that you are always thinking about those kind of things, but it means that you are making your change. You see, when we're changing here right now. We're changing the basement. We're changing the basement because the basement of the house, right? If you want to go bigger than that, you have to change your basement. And if you don't change your basement, then the construction is going to fall down, because we want to build for or go higher than that. And you can't build higher than that if your foundation is just not in the place that you need it to be, right? If you have certain dreams in your life, you have to check out what has happened from the earliest stages so that you can actually get past that. And so let's really dive into the father's wound first. So ultimately, there are needs we have as a child, and I mean the biggest ones that we have is to be seen, to be heard, and to be acknowledged for who we are. Those are the needs that want to be met, okay? Now, when we come into this life with parents who also have certain problems, okay, certain traumas, certain aspects that were painful for them, they are, if they want or not, are going to give you their idea of life to you. And so you are copying whatever they show you. There is no filter in the first 7 years. There is nothing that is actually preventing you and having this understanding of, maybe this is wrong, like something is not okay. You start to get those beliefs inside of you, and this is not about do I want it or not. This is just natural. This is how we grow, right? Because the first years is about surviving. The first years is about I need to survive, and so it's not about, hey, let's live in the highest potential, right? That's not priority at this stage. And so your brain is wired to just suck in everything that comes along, that is giving you survival tactics and strategies. And so what we are going to do in the first years is really just to understand how life works. Okay, kind of like downloading the manual without recognizing the error inside of it, right? That's not what we see. That's not what we can see. We don't have the capacity to see that. And so the father's wound is ultimately when you're really looking at the masculine aspect, right? On a healthy father figure, okay? What we expect or what we need from a father figure is that they hold space. They allow us to be in their space. It's kind of like it's this energy of like, I hold the space for you and you're safe within this space, and you can play, you can be creative whatsoever, but this is protected. I'm protecting you from whatever is going on in the outside world. And this space is here or should be here so that a child can actually develop the deep inner security to himself or to herself, right? And so this is like the really the father figure of a healthy, I would say, a healthy man. Now you can put it also into energies, because ultimately we all hold energies inside of us which are masculine and feminine energy, right? So this actually means that our masculine inside of us gets also kind of connected on how we grow up, right? It's kind of like it gets an imprint of what we see, what we hear, what we have been taught. And it's not necessarily about what they say, it's about how they act, right? How is the dynamic between your parents, mom and dad? It's the first relationship you see. You're going to take this in. If your father is kind of ignoring your mother, never looking at her needs, right? Never looking at your needs, you kind of start to feel unimportant, right? You start to see that however, whatever you're doing, you're not being seen, you're not heard, you're not acknowledged for who you are. This is not about holding space and giving you the possibility to grow in a safe environment. This is about it's not really healthy. It's not in a healthy dynamic, right? And so what happens is that the child sees that, copies that, and kind of feels like this is normal. So in the adulthood then, what happens is it looks out for the same kind of traits, right? Now this can give you an opportunity to heal, but we kind of feel punished, right? We feel punished because this is then something that comes again and again and again in relationships. And if this is coming again and again and again, we kind of feel like we are really punished for how we grew up, how we have been raised, because it is coming until you finally understood to not get in touch with those traits anymore, to let those traits go. And so you can only let these traits go when you have healed to a certain extent, right? When you have done that, then things start to get more smooth, things start to get easy, right? They start to be okay, you will be okay. And it's interesting to see that within inside of you, right? You gotta look, where have you felt safe? Where have you felt protected? Where have you felt, or the other way around, where have you not felt safe and protected? And where couldn't you show up as the person you are? It's because you haven't been acknowledged for who you are in very early days. And you see there are many different views on this, right? But it's not about blaming your parents. It's not about shaming them or, why didn't you whatsoever. I mean, it happened anyway. So if they say sorry to you right now, or if your father says sorry to you now, or your mom, or whoever raised you, right? If they say sorry to you right now, this is nice, but it's not going to solve it, because the need you once needed wasn't met. And so you have to start to do this inner healing process by getting more aware, by letting it go and flush it from your body, by reacting different in certain areas of your life to make a change so that you can actually start building again, right? Instead of doing the other side where it's just falling down all the time. It's not growing. It's just. So this one is the father wound, or in later stages it's the masculine, right? The masculine where inside of you, who is giving you the protection, the space, the holding space is so important. The leader as well, right? It guides into certain directions, right? So if you had a father who never really gave you any directions, right? It's hard for you to really have this inner kind of line. It's everything is connected to how you grew up, and so you gotta make sure that you understand that those traits that you are having right now that are bringing you some suffering, these are exactly the traits you need to look at in your early days. What I also wanted to say, it's about, or the masculine is about a leadership, but it's also about being free, feeling freedom, right? It's about expression as well. And so when you kind of feel this inner masculine, you know what I'm talking about. But it took me years to understand that this was one of my biggest wounds ever. And I didn't realize what it actually cost me over so many years, and that I have been missing those kind of pieces in my life, you see. And it doesn't need any acceptance really from your parents or whoever brought you into this life. You don't really need the acknowledgement of your pain, or the understanding. What you really need is to start your inner masculine. You start to heal that. You start to heal your inner masculine that is actually co-creating kind of thing with the feminine, right? And you start to feel this inside of you, and you start to feel safe from within. You start to be your own leader. You start to feel more free. You start to hold space for your emotions, right? You start to get this inner safety, however your circumstances may look like, right? On the other hand, we have the feminine aspect, so the mother. And also, again, it can be also reflected into your own inner mother wound, right? So if you had a mom who was maybe not so loving, not so caring, not really here for you, not nourishing you, right? Not holding you when you were crying. Maybe you cried like big time, and there wasn't really a acknowledging for how you felt. Maybe you got even mobbed in schooling, you know. Maybe there was a mobbing going on, and you came home and you told your mom that this and this happened, and you got completely ignored, or kind of thing, like, yeah, you just go outside again and you tell them not to do that, but your feelings were ignored, and you couldn't get in touch with this motherly energy, with this feminine aspect of sharing information, being in this energy of I'm your mom, and I can just lean into this kind of motherly energy where I just feel your love, right? This is not so much, it's also about a safety, but it's more about the love, feeling the love. It's really a bit of different energy than, of course, the masculine, right? So the feminine side at this hand is also about being creative, being wild, right? Expressing is a huge sign of the feminine. Like, could you express yourself as a child? Was it allowed to just be, or did you always have to some kind of perform? What was it that has brought you to the place you are right now? Did you have the feeling as a child that you couldn't be just, you know, play and run around and draw and, I don't know, play music or whatsoever, because this didn't look as something good, right? Now, the feminine isn't about goals and performing and all of that. That's the distorted masculine energy that is, I need to be strong, I need to show up like this. The feminine isn't like that. The feminine is about creating your life, and the masculine is helping you to do that in a free space. The masculine aspect, or the feminine aspect, on the other hand, can be very manipulative, right? If you have a mom who kind of always backfires things on you, right? Where you are like, you kind of feel bad for something that, so she says something and you feel bad. She makes you feel bad. She makes you feel that you need to look after her or anything like this. It's manipulation. And manipulation is something that usually is more in the feminine, okay, or in the woman, and not so much in the man, while the man uses power over you to get what he wants. And both of it is basically the distorted and not really the healthy masculine or feminine. It is something has happened and caused pain, and that's why they react a certain way. Now, if you have felt that, right, And if your mom has done this over time and always played you out, you never felt really safe with a motherly energy, with a feminine. You never felt safe, right? You kind of feel like you couldn't open up. You couldn't share your emotions. So imagine now you're the man, right? Or the, yeah, how do you want to share emotions if that is not okay to share, right? How do you want to do that? Well, it's work. It's inside work, right? What your mom and your father has showed you or have showed you is ways that were painful for you. Now they have gone through some evolutionary as well through their parents, and they have made some changes too. Might not be so visible for you, right? Maybe they're not talking about it at all, but they have, right? They have made a change even though you cannot see it. And so it's on you now to make your change and to make this the best possible life, right? You can have, because you can, even though your childhood may have been difficult. By the way, most of the childhood have been not easy, right? But this doesn't mean that you don't have a chance anymore. And so when we are talking about, there are many more aspects to this actually, but when we are talking about um, the feminine who is really holding this space, no, not holding the space, is letting you create life, and as a child you're not really able to do that. You're not really able to get into the wildness of who you are. Then in your adulthood, it's kind of hard to get out of the system, to get out of this box, to feel okay, to step out of that. It's not easy to do that when you have a wound like this, or when you kind of feel that you could never be really in chaos, right? Now, what you gotta know, what you gotta understand is that chaos in itself brings life, because chaos is changing to life. Chaos is what happens when change is here, right? If you can never be okay with chaos inside of you, I mean, right? In the turbulent times, when this has been not okay to go further, you have an issue because you don't know how that works. And breaking out of that is something that you can actually do. That's not something that is not possible. It is definitely possible. It is work though. And the first step is to allow yourself to feel how you have felt. Okay? No one can help you if you're not willing to break those walls. And that's, generally speaking, quite painful, because you have to see that your parents did the best they could with the knowledge they had. Regardless, it was not what you needed. Okay? And that's hard. That's hard to accept. It's hard to see that your life has been maybe not really glorious, and maybe not the way at all on what you needed, and you can see that there are so many things that are not going well in your life. But regardless of that, you can still make a change, you can make a shift, and it's not about if they accept you for who you are. It's about, do you accept who you are from deep within, and do you work with the feminine and the masculine energy inside of you to actually receive that balance again, and to understand that this protection you may seek or the safety you may seek That's something that you need to develop inside of you. It's not outside of you, and it's not an outside job anymore. This is an inside job. The same as this nurturing energy, this nurturing love. This is an inside job. This is not coming from the outside. This is about, how do I build this inside of me? How can I bring this stabilization inside of me so that I can actually grow again, right? You cannot expect anyone else to do this for you. There is no one else who can do it better than you. That's what you need to know and what you need to understand. And that is also what brings you the power, because you truly are in power, even if you may not feel like it right now. You are very, very much in power to make a change, to transform, to get into a life that actually helps you to grow. And the only thing you really have to do is to allow yourself to break these walls. And when you break these walls, this kind of a breaking and allowing, and it is a kind of a surrendering, because you don't know what is coming next. So you're kind of surrendering to your pain, and you let it in and you feel it. And most people are scared because they don't know what to do when the Pandora box is kind of open. Well, it will be most probably a lot of work, and it will not be easy. But the thing is, can you really risk to live or relive your past every single day? Can you really risk that? Do you have time to live your past over and over again? That's something that you have to decide for yourself, you see. But you are in charge. You're very, very much in charge of that. All right, my friend. With this said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. And please know that I know, if you don't know, I know that you are doing the very, very best you can. And this is about doing one step after the other. And when things are hard, taking a break, get rest. And tomorrow is another day. And tomorrow is a day that you can start all over again. And so, you know, there is not this thing called rush, and you need to go further, and if you don't make it now, then it's never gonna happen, blah blah blah. You will have time, believe me, you will have time. It's a matter of keep going and keep doing a bit, because it's a process, and the process cannot be sped up. So, you know, even if you try, don't, because you have plenty of time to actually do this work. All right, with this said, have a wonderful evening.